starting conversations with the HR team is a great place to start to really show not just that you're providing a great solution for their employees, but for the understaffed HR teams who take on more and more responsibilities. On-demand pay and earned wage access usually help to eliminate a lot of the problems that they have to deal with in their everyday life.
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, based on that, would be correct in saying that it actually doesn't matter if a person is getting paid weekly, fortnightly, or monthly, because we've obviously got 3 cycles. It really is just, a situation in their lives. Obviously, if they are getting paid weekly, they would potentially use it less. But are you seeing that across all different pay cycles where companies are adopting it?
Yeah, so interestingly, I've been gone from Dailypay for almost a year and still say we. When I worked at Dailypay, we used to see companies that paid their employees weekly, especially temporary staffing companies.
Yes.
And that didn't change the demand at all. The demand was still there because if you have an emergency, it doesn't matter when you're getting paid, unless it's tomorrow, you need your money for that emergency. The bi-weekly payments, obviously, were kind of standard in the U.S. Monthly payments were interesting because what we saw were for monthly payments in the U.S., companies like Amazon pay monthly in the U.S. There was no difference. For companies in the UK where the entire society is being paid monthly, yes, there tends to be a different way where you're raised differently with the expectation that you're only going to have access to the funds once a month. And from all of the earned wage access providers in the UK that I've spoken with, the demand really isn't as high from the consumers. When they have an unexpected expense, they tend to already have a backup because that's just the way that they've been brought up, and the entire society is that way.
That's very interesting because Australia, we've obviously looked in terms of pay cycles and the breakdown of percentages. We pretty much mirror America in terms of that weekly, fortnightly, and monthly. So that's, interesting. And what are the benefits that employers are seeing in terms of their retention or productivity and engagement? And then if there are these benefits that have been shown, which we know there are, why do you think there are that the company is seeing out of it, not just their employee?
Yeah, so, again, in the early days, I think one of the things that was most interesting for HR people when we first reached out to them was the ability to reduce turnover. And many companies have, in the U.S., earned wage access companies have a turnover reduction calculator on their website. Dailypay used to have one. I haven't looked recently, so I don't know if they still do. But it's a simple calculation, but it first of all shows a financial benefit. So, especially in the U.S., turnover rates are over 100%. If you have 100 workers and you're losing 20 a week, within 5 weeks, you've turned over 100% of your people. So it wasn't uncommon for Dailypay to see companies that were battling a 100% plus turnover rate. Even if you're battling 60 to 70 to 80% turnover rates, the cost to replace that person is very high because you've got the cost of recruiting to find another person. You've got the time where that job doesn't have anybody in it. So you may possibly be paying overtime to a manager who has to cover because there's no employee there to do the work. Or you might be paying a premium rate for somebody else to cover that spot until you get it. Then the person starts and there's always a period of onboarding no matter what job you're in. Yes. So you've got anywhere between 3 weeks to 3 months for that person to get up to the same level of productivity. So